So welcome, everyone. We're very glad that you could be here today. And I wanted to let you know that with me here today in the presentation are Valerie Cosgrove. She's the Ed Tech Supervisor, and my coworkers Bree Smith and Victor Tomaldin. And we might have Paul Cardatino later on. So in the interest of time, because we did just set aside an hour, we won't be going around the room to introduce everyone. So we'll just move forward with the presentation. And here we go. There's our agenda. So the purpose of our meeting today is to review the results of prior years and also to make sure that everyone's aware of all the year 3 deadlines and the required reports, and talk about the importance of using the amendment process to make sure that you utilize your funds and make any programmatic changes that you need to make. We'll also spend some time talking about the importance of artifacts. That's a really important topic, and the ways that you can ensure that your artifacts are accessible to anyone visiting your websites. They need to be downloadable and editable in order to fulfill the grant requirements. And then we will wrap up by discussing the year 3 meeting presentation and video requirements. So I want to just let you know that we hope you will ask questions as they arise. You can either use the raise hand icon and one of my coworkers will let me know that there's a question, or you can use the chat and one of my coworkers will read the questions in the chat. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. If you do have questions that are specific to your program, please send me an email and then we'll talk to address them. So that's that. Please, we encourage questions. Okay, so here are the year 2 results, and this is expenditures only, this slide, not anything to do with program results. So unfortunately, before the meeting, I didn't get the final tally from one of the participants, one of the recipients. So this is based on 26 out of 27 grant recipients. So 88% of the funds were expended, and that's pretty good. That's better than a prior year, so that's good. We'll talk about that in a minute. And so we have quite a few people who utilized at least 90% or more of their funds, and 4 people who used 100%. Now, we aren't, of course, just all, interested in how much money you spent. The important thing is what you achieved and what you spent it on. But we also do want every year to utilize as much of the funding as we possibly can. And 2 recipients, unfortunately, utilized less than 60% of their year 2 funding. So we had some unspent funds that way. But let me just give you a comparison. I think this is an interesting comparison. So the metric for percent expended, percent of funds expended, you can see it's improved this year. Also, one additional recipient spent more than 90%. 2 more got spent all 100%. And only 2 spent less than 60%. So we'll talk about this in a minute, but one of the ways you can avoid just giving back funding is to work with me with the amendment process. And there are many ways to try to do that. And also the amendment process helps to still achieve your program goals, even though you might have to change your approach and change where you spend the money. So we work with you and we try to be as flexible as possible. So congratulations. Year 2 was better than year 1. And I anticipate year 3 will be even better. So now these numbers have to do with the actual program outcomes. Keep in mind that not everyone had the same category of program outcomes, goals. So it's not an exact science. But one of the things we know is that recipients are pretty successful at getting the correct number or the anticipated number of schools participating. And 205, that's a pretty good number, and it's 94% of goal, so that's great. One of the areas that a lot of grant recipients have struggled with is the religious and independent school participation. Not only do they struggle to generate interest and have, commitments. But even after the commitments, only 56% of the committed religious and independent schools actually participated. And certainly you can't control that. Everybody does their best to keep that momentum going, but it doesn't seem to work out that well in many cases. We had a large number of teachers participating in programming overall and good goal achievement, 94%. And evidently, more administrators were interested in participating than people thought, because we have 111% of that goal. So I'm glad to see that, administrators are interested in the LTG programming and are involved and a part of the program. So that's great, because we need administrative, commitment in order to keep going with the program. And then now these numbers, I don't have percentages, and that's because there's no real way to calculate it, because there are people who didn't have this as a goal. In other words, they didn't have a goal of a number of students participating, but we encourage people to actually report that number, even if you didn't have a goal attached to it. So therefore, there's no such thing as a percentage of goal in these categories. So that's a lot of students, participating, over 27 grant recipients. And then this number is, wow, large, 51,287. And this is an estimate that all of you provided in your quantitative data spreadsheet of how many students were actually taught by teachers who had participated in LTG programming. So the theory there is that those students are benefiting from their teachers having been involved in the program and receiving professional development. So that's a really good number. We're happy with that. So that's why, like I said, it would skew the percentage if we did goal numbers. So, but I myself am happy with that number, those numbers. And for those of you that had real good luck with that, I appreciate your hard work, and hopefully this year we'll see even more numbers. Any questions on anything about results before we move on to deadlines? Excuse me, I'm having some issues with my throat. I have dryness. Okay, so important deadlines. This, of course, the next important deadline is January 31st, and it's hard to believe it'll be January real soon. And so your interim report is due, and that's January 31st. And that is a report that is just a narrative, but we ask you to keep in mind the quantitative data, and we'll talk about that in a minute. In the year 3, amendments are due by June 21st. Obviously, we prefer sooner, because that's kind of last minute, since programming ends June 30th. So it's really important that you keep an eye on things and file amendments as early as you possibly can, so that you can work through things before the year ends. And then this is our virtual meeting or conference. I kind of use the words interchangeably. And July 17th and 18th, and we're having it virtual again, like we did 3 years ago with the last round of grant recipients. We were thinking about doing it in person, but decided that this would be work better for everyone, really. It eliminated the travel expenses, and it makes it, people don't have to spend all that time and money, and we could put that money elsewhere, which you can do an amendment to move that travel money that was in your budget. Sorry, we didn't think of that before we did the budgets, but we just thought it was the best way to go. So we'll be talking a little bit about that final meeting or conference in a little bit. And then July 31st is when we want all program artifacts posted. Now, that's not to say that if you miss that deadline, then you don't post them. You post them whenever you can, but we really would like you to have all of them posted by July 31st. Okay, there's another deadline, July 31st. Submit your FS10F final expenditure report. Now, if you're late, you get your money late. That's gonna, be a challenge for you if you're counting on that final payment. That goes directly to Grants Finance, but I need a copy electronically. And the FS10F is what helps me review a final your year-end report and compare it to the budget, the report, and the FS10F final expenditure report. And then September 30th will be your final deadline, where you'll do a summative report for the 3-year grant cycle, and that'll include quantitative data. We're going to take a quick look at the quantitative data report today, but I haven't finalized the summative report template yet. So you got a little ways to go we'll send that to you early next year. So we'll talk a little bit about the interim report. This is something that's been filed each year of the program, and it'll be giving us some good information about where you're at towards the end of the 3-year cycle, and what we might want to do to have a positive results in the final stretch of the 3-year program. So hopefully most of you will be finding that you're achieving your year 3 goals. But if you're not, certainly don't wait till the interim reports due. If you need help now, I mean, I'm not taking any time off. I took my vacation last year in unfortunate medical reasons. So I won't be taking any time off. So I'll be here for you right through the holidays if you need me. And we'll do whatever we can to help you if you have issues that you're grappling with as you move towards that final 6 months. So the interim report covers July 1 to December 31st. We want you to, we don't require that you submit the quantitative data form until the final report, but make sure you're collecting the data now. That's why we give that to you now, to make sure that you realize what data you need. And if you want to put some of your statistical information in your interim report, that's great. Numbers are always good. So let me see if I can show you briefly the interim report. Yeah, there it is. Can everybody see that? Did I do it right? We're good? Interim report. All right. So basically, you're just going to fill out your, district's name, who's filling out the report, and their address and date submitted. So it's a reminder at the top that you need to look at the quantitative data template. And then you're going to describe how you're doing with your goals in the 3rd year so far. And if you're having struggles with any of your year 3 goals, you want to list those out and talk about what's going on that's made it difficult for you. And we'll see if we can help you with those. And when you submit it to me, you might want to make a little note in the email that you send it, like, gee, I'm really, struggling with whatever, and please get back to me as soon as you can, or, whatever if you really want to meet soon. And then definitely we need all of the artifact information with a link to the web page where it will be posted or is posted. And so we want to know, are there some artifacts you won't be able to post, if you won't be able to create them at all? And then we can talk about, or you can be thinking about, what might you do in place of the artifacts that you had planned to post. So that's what we want to see there. And also, please make sure that when you post artifacts, if they're not self-explanatory, you provide some kind of accompanying narrative that can assist others, because the point of the artifacts is so that other districts can, replicate or come close to replicating your programming, so that the LTG dollars stretch all the way around the state. Make sure that when you provide the interim report, all the links work and that all documents are accessible to the general public. And today we're going to have someone show you some of the ways that you can make sure the documents are downloadable and editable if you've been having some trouble with that part. So that's that report. Okay. Then we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. From current slideshow. Sorry. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, now we're going to talk about the amendment process, as long as there's no questions about the report. Okay. A lot of you have done amendments already. Oh, go ahead. Somebody have a question? No? Okay. So a lot of you have already done amendments in the prior, like 2 and almost 2.5 years. So when might you need an amendment? You might need to change part of the program because it's just impossible to implement it the way you originally intended. So you would propose, here's what I need to change, and this is what financially would need to change in order to make the programmatic changes. But please check with us first before making any changes to expenditures, even if you think that an amendment's not necessary. There are, rules on the FS10A amendment form saying when you must file an amendment, but within our office, we also have sometimes you might need to file an amendment that doesn't meet that threshold, but that we need you to do the amendment just because we're concerned about the programmatic changes or something, other reasons why you might need to make an amendment. So please be aware of that and don't just make changes. And then if we were to get an FS10F final expenditure report and there were changes that never were discussed, you might need to do an amendment at that time, or even, miss out on some reimbursement if you made kind of random changes that weren't approved. We always try to be as flexible as possible. The whole point of the whole program and the amendment process is to make the most of your funding, and we're trying to, meet the needs of all students and teachers that we're impacting. So the goal is always to stay as close to your original plan as possible. But if it's not possible, then, we all need to work together to make it work out to the best of our ability. So always be thinking about, if I make this change, how will it impact my program plan, or how is it going to impact my budget? So the deadline, like I think I mentioned earlier, is the 21st of 2024. The most important step is, of course, just contacting me and ask to set up a time to talk. If you want to just send me a draft amendment first, don't go through all the process of getting it signed and everything else. Just send me the draft if you want, or you just send me an email saying I'd like to talk to you about a potential amendment. But do that as soon as you have any inkling that you're going to need to amend something. Because sometimes if you do start working on it early enough, and we might together brainstorm some ideas you hadn't thought of, you might still be able to meet all your goals, but just by tweaking the program and the budget a little bit in maybe ways that you didn't think would be possible. And then also there's always the possibility you can find another legitimate use for the funds rather than just turn them back to the state. Okay. Make sure you allow time to submit and receive approval for your amendment and be able to put it into place prior to June 30th. You always have to evaluate whether your MWBE goal amount is going to change, or whether your ability to meet your existing goals might be challenged based on the changes you're making. So we have to always keep the MWBE goals in mind and see what we can do to continue to achieve them, even if they become larger based on your changes. So, and if you're new at that, I can always, I can walk you through the whole process as we go. So, like I said, send a draft prior to obtaining all the signatures from your management and or the MWBE vendors. So, you can hold back on the MWBE documents if you just want to send an FS10A for me to look at, so I can tell you, yeah, that change will be okay, or please clarify something or whatever. And then once we see the amendment, we'll let you know if it's fine as is or if it needs adjustment. Same thing with the MWBE documents, whether you have all of them, whether they're properly filled out, etc. So once I have your FS10A, this is electronically. I forward that with your MWBE documents to the MWBE office. And as soon as I know that they've given their approval, I let you know. And then you mail the FS10A in, the signed copy with one copy of it. So this the amendment is not in the tracking system until we have that hard copy in the mail. So that's really important. So you don't want to jump the gun and get everything signed and put it in the mail without talking to me and then find out it has to be revised. Any questions on amendments? Anybody? Okay. So now we skip to the FS10F, which is your final expenditure form. And that the FS10F form is actually a link, a hyperlink to the page, grants finance page, where all of these forms can be found, the FS10, the FS10A, various forms that grants finance requires. So you will get a copy of this PowerPoint in an email next week sometime. So you'll have this information, including notes and these links. So you can, if you don't know how to find forms, that's where you can find them. The MWBE office does not have a website where you can find forms, so you would need their email to ask them if you're missing a form you need. And that's in the end of the PowerPoint as well. So, yeah, grants finance forms. If you have a question about an FS10F, you can always contact them. And if it's a question for me related to an amendment or something like that, then you can contact me. And make sure that if there are discrepancies, in other words, if the FS10F doesn't match your budget and any amendments, then I would contact you to figure out why they don't match. Okay. Now this is really important. Excuse me, I need to take a drink here. We want to make sure that you're remembering to go back to the original proposal that your organization submitted, because there was an attachment 5 in that proposal, and the final column in the activities plan, attachment 5, said, here are the artifacts we are going to produce. And so please review that and make sure that you're either on track to produce and post all those artifacts, or substitute something else because programming changed, or you thought of something else that you would like to have as artifacts. There's a lot of different things that can be considered artifacts that will, and that list was also in the proposal where it gave you ideas. In the RFP, it did not require that you post artifacts as they are created. The requirement was that you post them at the end of each year, but we prefer if you will post them, as you create them. So, and make sure that in your interim report, you let us know which ones that were in your proposal will not be able to be created, and what you might do in except to substitute. Okay. And some of you have, we've looked at artifacts and there's a lot of great ones. So we appreciate the hard work on that. This is from the actual RFP. And so the Appendix B gave a list of maybe, some ideas on what kind of things you might want to use for artifacts. So if you are struggling with the artifacts that were promised in your proposal and you're thinking, well, what else can I do? This might give you some ideas. The other way to get ideas is to go to our LTG website, and there are pages where the prior grant recipients from the last cycle have their resources posted. You can take a look and see what are some of the things they've done, or even, you go to the website where the current grant cycle is, and you can find your way to the resources and artifacts that your colleagues have posted this year, the prior years, in the last 2 years. Just make sure there's no PII or, things like that in these artifacts, or, identifying students unless there's permissions. This also came from the RFP, and it was repeated numerous times throughout the RFP. So it was stressing that this was an important component of the grant. And like I said earlier, that was the whole point, was that so other districts could use, copy, adapt, and implement similar programs, so that we could make the most of the LTG funding and not just limit the benefits to the students and teachers who are part of the districts, actually participating in the grant. So that's the whole philosophy behind that. So right now I'm going to attempt, in my wonderful technology skills, to show you an example. And this is an example of a district that posted some interesting artifacts. And then after I do that, Ron Gill from our communications office he's going to show you some ways to fulfill the posting requirements so that they meet the requirements of. Now, let me ask, can you see this? The resources? Yes, Bree, can I? No, you don't see the resource. No, okay. All right. Let's see. How about now? Yes. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So this one is, this is from the resources from the prior year, and this is what we're going to put together for all of you. So you're going to have a program video at the end of this year, and then we're going to have a link directly to your artifacts. And this is going to be in this kind of format in a table with all 27 of you. So here we go. We're going to go to Syracuse. I hope this is working, right? You can see the Syracuse LTG page, yes?
Yep.
Okay, good. So now we're going to one section of it, and that right there is their video that they posted. But we're not going there. We're going to one section that they called Collaboration Corner. And then we're going to go down here to the e-portfolios. So you can see it's laid out, lots of different stuff in here. E-portfolios. And then we go to Mrs. McCrae. Okay. So now, do you think that this one is posted properly? That it's editable and accessible without a login and things like that? What do you think? Anybody? Yes or no?
Although it says request edit access, you should be able to download it. I mean,
yes.
You can copy it. You can make a copy.
You are right. Some people get thrown off by that and they think, oh, this isn't, accessible because you have to request edit or you have to sign in, which we also don't want you to have to do. But no, you just go to File and then you can download it in whatever format you want. And then once you've downloaded it, you can edit it. So that's what I just wanted to show. And this is an interesting website. They're not a part of the program this year, but yeah, they have some really good work on their website. So you can go to that page on the website and you can see all the different examples from prior years. So that's why I wanted to show that. Do we have any questions in the chat? I just wanted to check to see. No? Okay. All right. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so Ron, are you ready to join and show?
Yeah.
Did anybody make you a co-host? Let me see.
I think
No.
so. Oh, no?
It doesn't look like it. There you go.
Okay.
You are now a co-host. So Ron, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your feedback.
All right.
And your help with this. Thanks.
Glad to be here. Glad I can hopefully help out.
Okay.
All right, let me share my screen here. Okay. Does everyone see my Google account here?
No,
Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
I gotta stop sharing first, then you can share.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to figure sorry,
That's
I'm not
okay.
I'm not sure what do you see a screen or
I see lots of different,
We see your drive.
yeah, with all the stuff in it, yeah.
this one here that I'm
It says
moving?
home files and it shows all the different files in your drive.
Sorry, I have a few different monitors. So I'm not even
Oh.
sure. How do I
How many monitors do you have now?
yeah, I apologize. I can't tell.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Let's see.
You're sharing the one that you're on the drive, on Google Drive.
Okay. Yeah, I have multiple windows, so let me try that again.
Okay.
Now that we Okay, I think this is
It's a Google Drive window.
We
you're
still see
sharing.
the same thing.
this one
Except
here
we
that
don't-
I'm moving it right now. The one that's moving.
I don't see
No.
anything moving, no.
This one.
There are
No.
3 tabs
It's
at
the
the
tab
top.
you have, it's
Oh,
the
right.
tab and then there's the NICEAD.gov.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
All
3
right.
tabs.
All right. Okay, great. So is this working? I'm switching to clicking on Google Drive. It just switched to view.
Yeah, switch the view now.
Okay, perfect. All right.
It's a different
Sorry
view.
about that. I don't know why it's not highlighting on my
Oh.
Zoom which screen is active. I don't know, it's
Oh.
strange, but okay. So I'm in Google Drive now, and I just want to show different ways to share files and give you some suggestions on making them more user-friendly, hopefully. So the first way that most people are probably familiar with is if I click on one of these files here, I have a test Word document here, and I click on share, click on share. And then there's the pop-up window here with the settings. So anyone with the link, which we want, and then just verify that the role is set to viewer. We don't want to give people edit access to the resources. So then I copy the link. And then
So if they have viewer access, then,
Yep.
but they can still download it and then edit it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's what we want.
Yeah.
So I open this up in my Firefox browser just to show I'm logged in with a different account. And I just wanted to show you what the view would look like. So if a user is logged into one of their personal accounts or their school accounts, this is the view they would see. So this, similar to the resource that Syracuse had posted, there's a request edit access button. And as Marianne showed, there's still the file download button, which is good. People can download the file from here. But some users may not be familiar with how Google Drive works, and they may not realize that this is here, and they may get sidetracked by the request edit access button. They might click on it, and then they send an email to the owner of the document, and then they're waiting for a response before they realize that they can download a file.
Dump themselves, right.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of an issue. So we found a workaround for that. So I'll show you how that works.
Because Ron, you can't ask Google to get rid of that.
Exactly. Yep.
Request,
Yeah. Which I think we
edit.
figured out Google has purposely done that because they want you to be logged into accounts. They want you to
Create an
use-
account if you don't have one.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah, because if I actually I'll show you. So if I paste that link into I'm an incognito window now, I'm logged out of Google, and there's a request edit access button, but I can't click on it. So then the only other option is to sign in.
Oh, I see. So if you weren't logged into Google,
Yeah. Yep.
the request edit access doesn't work. So then it forces you to sign in.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely driving people to create Google accounts. So that's why
They won't get rid of it.
they're not getting rid of it. But we found a little bit of a workaround, at least for now, until they figure out people are doing this. So what I do is I'm going to go back to click on Google Drive just to get back to this view. And then I created folders for the resources. So I created this test LTG resources folder here. I'll just show, I have a few files that I put in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this folder link now. So this is that folder here. I'm going to click on share. And we're going to do the same share settings that we did with the file. Anyone with the link and viewer, copy this link. And then I'll open that up in the incognito. So this is logged out view, logged out of a Google account. And now when I view this folder with the files, there's no request edit access button anymore, which is great. And then so all we get is download all, or if you go next to the files, download. So it's much more user friendly to go this way. And you can also, depending on how you're organizing these resources on your district website, you can organize these folders differently on Google Drive. So I had this test LTG resources folder with multiple files, but you can also create one folder, or you can put individual files in individual folders. So one-to-one. So if you want to create share links to individual files, you can do it this way. You'll obviously have potentially a lot of folders in your drive, but you can organize the folders in different ways to keep that organized. So I'll just show you the example with this single file. Copy link. And now when I go there, it's just you're not realizing users aren't thinking that they're necessarily going to a folder, but they're getting a nice view with just the file that they can download then. So we think this is the way to go. I've also created a quick tutorial help guide that goes over these two options. This option one is the traditional way to share a file. And then later in the guide, I go over creating the folders and how to share the links that way. So we'll share this help guide with you.
Yeah, we'll send that out with the PowerPoint. Yeah, that'll be a part of it. And I think, do we have a question in the chat? I thought I saw a question pop up. Bree,
Yeah, you should check it out. Yeah, it's a little long, so I don't want to read it all out, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, we want to answer it now. So yeah, Bree, can you look at it in the chat, Ron?
Okay, yeah.
It might be an answer I have to give.
It's for you, Marianne.
Oh, is it for me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
let me go
All
look
right.
then. All right. It's a question about editable. Not all artifacts would need to be editable. If you are sharing data, it wouldn't make sense for that file to be editable. You wouldn't want people to make changes. You would only want artifacts that other districts can use. Oh, I'd have to have an example of what that means. If you were sharing data about, the success of your program.
Sure, I can give you a specific example. So we brought a new software program which allows students to read into a microphone, and it records their reading, and the software processes everything and gives us data. So I have been taking screenshots of what those reports look like, and just taking away the names, so you're just seeing sort of what those reports would look like, so districts could see how that might be helpful for their teachers. So that's just a picture. I wouldn't want to, there would be no way to make that editable. It's just a picture of data. So if you're creating something like a template that you maybe use to keep information organized that other districts can then take and use, then that would be something you'd want to be editable, but not every single artifact needs to be editable. I guess I just wanted some clarification on that.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. There would be no reason to edit something like that. Just like if you post a video of some kind, you know, they should be able to download it, but they don't need to be able to edit a video that you posted.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
so much for that
sorry.
clarification.
I didn't make that clear, but yeah, and it might need to be clearer in the guidance too. But yeah, I mean, anything that can be editable that would make sense, like a template that they could use. Anybody trying to replicate your program should be able to edit any of those documents if it's like any kind of a template that they might be, or if even it's like some kind of professional development modules, that they could take that and use it, but modify it and put their name on it or things like that. Yeah. So thank you, Ron. Any questions on what Ron went over, or any other questions about artifacts? The main thing is they need to be downloadable, and where it makes a lot of sense, which most of the time I think it does make sense, they can be edited, and that there's no sign-in, no Google sign-in required at all. They don't have to sign in or request access. So that's really important. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, Ron,
give-
thanks a
give you
lot.
next. Yep.
All right,
No problem.
I'll go back. All right, so I'll go back to the PowerPoint. All right. Go. Go back. Slideshow. Okay, so thanks a lot, Ron. That really was great. Okay, and here's another issue with artifacts. What it said in the RFP that you all responded to was that your artifacts, your website, has to be available till June 30th, 2027. So everything needs to be posted by June of 2024, and then it's supposed to remain there for 3 years. So that's really important to remember. We've had some artifacts and websites disappear from the last cycle, and we think that sometimes that's because it was done using someone's account at work, Google account or whatever it might be, and then when they left the organization, everything got wiped and now there's no website. So you need to make sure that you're doing, perhaps posting with like an organizational account that's not linked to a person or something, so that you don't lose your website and your posting of your artifacts if a person leaves. So that's the recommendation there. Okay. Hopefully you're thinking about that as you go forward. But yeah, there's got to be somebody, that you can assign the task of maintaining, making sure that it's maintained. And sometimes, as we know, people, the IT department sometimes change different links or things in the background. And then all of a sudden that link that we have on our website to your website no longer works, even though the website exists. So please make sure that you keep that in mind. And if we find that it's not working anymore, we'll let you know so that you can fix it. And I'm grateful. Thank you, Karen, for that question. I appreciate your question about that, artifacts. Okay, so the July conference will be held the 17th and the 18th. And it's really important that everybody participate. And we will also be inviting other New York State educators to attend so they can learn about your programs. So what you're going to do first during that is you will present your program. Most people use PowerPoint slides. And so you'll be sharing your screen just like we are now. We want you to keep it brief, because not only will you be presenting during that 15-minute time frame, but we will also be asking each presenter 2 or 3 different questions related to their experience with the LTG program. So you'll get the list of questions ahead of time. But we will, we might have 10 different questions, and you'll get asked 2 or 3 of them. And you'll have plenty of time to prepare. So I'll be grouping everybody together. I have a tentative grouping already put together. And it'll be like from 3 to 5 program participants in each group. And the group is related to the topics or the focus of your grant. So that's how that's going to work. And then we will record it. We will record each presentation, and then we will post the recordings. And right now on the NYSED LTG conference webpage that's on our webpage, Web Now, you can look at how it was laid out with the recordings. So the recordings are individual by group. That way someone doesn't have to go through a video of the entire 2 days of conference time. You can just pick and choose your topics that you're interested in. But those are, yes, go ahead. Somebody have a question?
We had something pop up at JHS and we have to send out a message.
Is that the
I guess someone needs to be muted, I think.
People.
Okay. Okay. So this is,
There's a question about
okay.
needing to come for the conference, and it's virtual, correct?
Yes, it's virtual. Yes. So it's a virtual conference, and each grant participant needs to have someone there to present. And there has to be at least one person there presenting from the grant recipient themselves. We can't send a vendor and then that's it, just a vendor presenting for you. There has to be someone who actually is part of the organization, but you can have a vendor assist you in the presentation if they were a big part of your programming. So, I mean, we don't want you to have somebody presenting who sold you computers, obviously. That's not, but if it's somebody that was, you know, a PD provider or something like that. But yes, everyone has to be there. Not the whole time. I mean, we prefer you're there for multiple, you know, time periods, but for at least your presentation time, which is, like I said, 15 minutes. So probably you'd have to be there about an hour, you know, minimum. We prefer, like you said, I said, that you don't cut it that short, but yes, everyone has to be there. And that was in the grant as well. Any other questions on?
There's a hand raised.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, I see a question in the chat. It says, do we need to pre-record our presentation or are we?
No, we'll be recording the whole event. But what you do have to provide us with is a video, and the video is not a video of your presentation at the conference. It's a video all about your program. So the video that we're requiring is separate from the presentation. The presentation will be live and we'll be recording the whole conference and then posting it. Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. Yeah. Okay. It is a good idea if you do view those conference videos ahead of time. Take a look at them. Definitely take a look at the videos and the conference videos and also the program videos that are on that resource page that we went to earlier. That was the Syracuse one I showed you, where they had their video and then they had their artifacts together. So that will give you some ideas. So the conference page will give you ideas about the conference last time and what it was like and how the presentations looked. And then you can also look at the videos that people submitted, because we will be posting those videos of your program, and you can get really creative with that. Just make sure if you have, you know, students in the videos that there's the necessary permissions. Any questions on the conference? You see the dates, so you want to make sure that you can line up somebody that can be there, you know, from your program. Each day is going to begin at 10 a.m. and conclude by 3:15, the latest, and that's 2 days in a row. Soon as we know your date and time of your presentation, we'll let you know. We're going to probably have that out to you, you know, in January. I think so. And we talked about the video already. So, and that will be posted on the NYSED website with the link to your artifacts, as we saw with Syracuse. So that's, we really look forward to seeing those videos. We hope you'll put some real time into them and make them really creative, because you want to, you know, show other people viewing your program all the fun stuff and things that you were doing throughout the years. So now's the time to be, you know, gathering that information while the programs are still operating. Okay, so this is the last slide other than just talking about next steps. So the summative performance report we talked about earlier, this is the last thing on the list as far as your program. Your program ends July 31st of 2024, but then you've got some time to create your final report. And the narrative section, like I said, will be very similar to the interim report template. And the template for the summative report will get to you sometime early 2024. Be gathering that quantitative data. And when you fill out the quantitative data spreadsheet, you want to add any other measurements that you can show what you've done, because we couldn't possibly include everything on that template of what everyone might be doing. That was a quantitative goal that you had. So you modify it and make sure that you use the updated quantitative data template. Last year we had sent out a new one, but some people submitted the old one. So please be, cognizant of that and make sure that you use the new one. And I'm going to send it to you when I send you the PowerPoint next week. I'm going to send you the PowerPoint with notes, the quantitative data template, and the Google guide that Ron Gill just shared with us. So you'll have those documents when I send you the PowerPoint.
Is it at all possible to get that before the end of this fiscal year, meaning before June 30th? Because we are paying, one of our consultants is assisting with the data, like they're doing the evaluation, and that money won't be available in post July 1.
I'm not understanding the question. I'm sorry. Are you talking about the quantitative data template? Or what
Yeah,
you
the
told-
summative report that's due next September. You said you'll get
Yeah.
it sometime.
early
in the beginning of
2024.
24.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was interpreting that in the next fiscal year. Sorry.
No, I kind of thought that's what you were that's what you were saying,
Thank
but I
you.
wanted to
Sorry about
clarify.
that.
Yeah, no problem. No, we want to give you plenty of time, to be prepared and not be surprised at the last minute with, oh, by the way, we need that information. We're trying not to do that to you. So yeah, and definitely you'll have, like I said, the PowerPoint, the quantitative data template, and the Google Drive guide. And if you have questions about how to post artifacts, or you're struggling, or, if we get in touch with you about that we can't access your artifacts, then, I can always forward on your questions that you maybe Ron will have some suggestions for you if you're having trouble with meeting those requirements. Okay, so please contact me if you have any questions about what we talked about today, or any questions about your grant, and try to remember to use that LTG address, even though I mistakenly sent this meeting invitation from my personal email, but I didn't mean to. But that's what you want to do, is contact me that way. That way, if I'm out of the office and it's something urgent, other people are checking that mailbox for me. And that's about all that I have right now. Do we have any other questions while we're here that you would like to raise?
Marianne, I have
Yes.
a question. We were thinking of programming for possibly going forward for, do you know if there might be a next cycle?
There will be a next cycle. We just
Okay.
don't have any details available yet. So, watch your email and whatever else, we announce it if it's posted out, we send out to like superintendents, the NYSED weekly and things like that. So when something's available, information on that, it'll be sent out. So yes, there will be, unless the legislature decided to do away with it, which I don't think they would. We're planning on it, and it'll come out at some point.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Now we do want you to, as always, as part of the proposals, we want you to, talk about how you're going to sustain the program. So we hope that as people, are working their programs where they have ways to keep going, even if they were to not have, ongoing funding from LTG or funding from other sources, that hopefully there's ways to continue some of the programming without any of this type of funding. So do the best you can. Any other questions? Now's your chance. Although you can ask me a question any day, anytime, just send me an email. Okay. Well, there you go. There's the contact information. So if you have any questions, there's my phone number, Ed Tech phone number, also Grants Finance or the MWBE office. So I've tried to give you as much information as we can and all the contact information you might need. And we welcome your feedback, not just questions, but feedback on the program, on your experience with the program. We always ask that in the interim report and the final report as well. If you want to provide us with any kind of other feedback in the final part of the interim report on, you know, what we could do better, what you like about the program, what assistance you might need that you didn't get, things like that. So please be honest and forthcoming and share your honest feedback. We appreciate it. Anyone else have any questions? We're just about on the hour, but we can stay longer if anybody needs anything. We have any more questions in the chat? No? Gee, it's so good that so many of you came. Really, I enjoy working with you and look forward to working with you for the rest of the grant period. So thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thanks. Thank you
Be in
very
touch
much.
soon. Good
Okay.
luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Marianne, just a question. Should I
Yes,
contact
sure.
you separately if I have a question regarding the challenge we're having with the independent school? Or can I do it here?
Oh, well, we wait till we don't. Who's this that's talking?
Deborah Spivak.
Oh, Deborah.
Full
Let's just
recording.
see if all we've
Yeah.
got left is NICEAD. No, we still got other people from other places. So, if you want, you can call me right after we exit the meeting. You want to do that?
Yep, that's
Okay,
perfect.
that sounds
Thanks.
good. Thanks. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and close out the meeting. For those of you that are still here, thank you very much. Okay.